My name is Wayne Larrivee. I'm the radio voice of the Green Bay Packers on the Packers Radio Network. It'll be my honor to be your MC over the course of these next, couple of days here in the Green Bay area. First off, I'd like to introduce a man who really around this campus needs no introduction, but for those of you who aren't on this campus on a regular basis, I'll go ahead. I'd like to introduce to you Thomas Kunkel, the 7th president of St. Norbert College. Before coming to SNC in 2008, Kunkel enjoyed a long and successful career as a journalist. At age 29, he became the youngest top editor in Knight Ridder history when he was named the executive editor of the Columbus, Georgia Ledger-Inquirer. He also worked for the Miami Herald, the New York Times, and the Cincinnati Post, along with the San Jose Mercury News, and was editor and publisher of Arizona Trend magazine. Kunkel left newspaper editing to become director of Maryland's Knight Center for Specialized Journalism, and he spent 8 years as dean of Philip Merrill College of Journalism at the University of Maryland. The Scripps Howard Foundation named him Journalism Administrator of the Year in 2006, and in 2007-2008, he was president of the Association of Schools of Journalism and Mass Communication. He has chaired accreditation reviews of such nationally prominent journalism programs as Columbia, Syracuse, Berkeley, Florida, and Southern California. Kunkel was born and raised in Evansville, Indiana. He's written or edited 5 books. As a reporter from Indiana, he takes special pride in once having had his pedigree questioned by Indiana head basketball coach Bob Knight. As someone who's been around the Big Ten for a long time, that is not an exclusive club by any stretch of the imagination. Please welcome President Tom Kunkel.
I want to re-welcome all of you to our conference on sport and society. We are especially proud to have Commissioner Selig with us today. And also, you're going to hear from in a minute from my colleague, Mark Murphy, who's the president and CEO of the Packers. We're so pleased to have the Packers as partners in so many ways here at St. Norbert College, and just delighted to be co-hosting this conference with them. Many of you know our relationship goes back, our formal relationship with the Packers goes back over half a century to actually the year before Vince Lombardi was named the coach. They began their spring. We began hosting the summer training season, and when Coach Lombardi came the year later, he made that permanent. He was a great friend of the college, and the team has remained close to the college ever since, and that's a relationship we're very, very proud of. We're also proud to be Division III in the NCAA. As you know, that's non-scholarship. And this is where the student-athlete concept really lives. We're in the Midwest Conference, which is a wonderful conference. Some outstanding other great liberal arts colleges like Grinnell and Knox and Beloit, Ripon, and Lawrence are our colleagues. And it serves as proof that athletics and academics can and should reinforce one another in our society in a very healthy way. Also, just a little bit of bragging, if you don't know, our hockey team just won the D3 National Championship for the third time, so we're very, very proud of that. Again, delighted to have you at St. Norbert College for this important conference, and I look forward to spending more time with you over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. Our next speaker, Mark Murphy, became the Green Bay Packers' 10th president and CEO in January of 2008. A remarkably accomplished person in the National Football League. 8 years as a safety for the Washington Redskins, 2-time Pro Bowler, earned a law degree from Georgetown University and an MBA in finance from American University. He's been the director of athletics at 2 different universities, has 3 years of experience as a trial attorney with the U.S. Department of Justice, won Super Bowls as both a player and as a team president. I don't know if there's anyone else. We've been kind of checking that out. That is a unique designation to win a Super Bowl as a player and then as a team president. I don't know if that's been done. Mark might know, but I've never heard of that happening. I think that's a tremendous accomplishment. Mark played college football at Colgate University in New York before joining the Redskins in 1977. Played in both Super Bowl 17 and Super Bowl 18 and was named to the team's 70 greatest players and is a member of its 50th anniversary team. During his playing days, he also served as NFL Players Association Assistant Director, returned to Colgate as Athletic Director back in the 90s, 1993 through 2003, and moved on to serve with distinction at Northwestern University as Athletic Director 2003 through 2008. During his time with Northwestern, his 19-sport program won 8 national championships and 3 NCAA team titles, while boasting a 98% graduation rate of athletes. That matches Notre Dame and the Naval Academy for best in the country. Mark joined the Packers in 2008 and has overseen a restructuring on the team's senior leadership staff, development of the Ray Nitschke Field, an incredibly successful stock sale, has also led a $143 million renovation of significant improvements to the NFL's Cathedral Lambeau Field, including the addition of more than 6,500 seats and a brand new scoreboard that will debut this year. Oh, and the Packers, in the meantime, during all of this, happened to win Super Bowl 45 under his watch. Pretty busy guy, there's no question. Please welcome one of the most uniquely qualified owners in the National Football League, President and CEO of the Green Bay Packers, Mark Murphy.
Thank you, Wayne. You know, Wayne, in addition to serving as MC here now, he is, I think most people know him, he's the voice of the Packers. So he's done a great job for us. He and Larry McCarron, I think, have the best team in terms of our radio broadcast. And my favorite part of the game is, and Wayne and I, my box where I watch the game is right next to Wayne's. My favorite part of the game is when I hear Wayne say, "There is your dagger." So I hope you always I get to say that 15 times last year, so that was good. I just want to welcome you all to our second Sport and Society conference. We're really excited about this partnership with St. Norbert College. As President Kunkel mentioned, we have a long relationship with St. Norbert College, and we're really proud of it. We believe this is the only example of a Division III school partnering with an NFL team in this type of a way. We also have the longest running partnership in terms of our training camp. You know, as Tom mentioned, it goes back to just right before the Lombardi era, so we're very proud of that. And the other thing I would say, you know, and most of you probably aware, the Packers have a very unique ownership structure. We're community owned, so for us, relationships in the community are really important, and for us, a real key is our relationship with St. Norbert College. I should mention, too, Tom is on our board of directors. It's been a couple years now. Fairly early in his tenure, Tom got a Super Bowl ring, so we want to get him a couple more over the years. I'm also excited that Commissioner Selig was agreed to come here with us. He is also a member of our board of directors, and he's been a big help to the Packers over the years, although obviously he's a very busy man with his job. You know, our relationship with St. Norbert really goes in a number of different areas, in addition to obviously training camp, but also they provide our cheerleaders. I don't think many people know that. We're a little different than the Dallas Cowboys. We don't have the glitz, but we really like the cheerleaders that we have from both St. Norbert College as well as UWGB. Also, another thing that we've just partnered on with St. Norbert College is the Packers Heritage Trail. Some of you may not be familiar with it. It's kind of modeled after the Freedom Trail in Boston. Going to be a series of plaques throughout downtown Green Bay, and there will be a spur that actually comes to St. Norbert College, really highlighting the history and tradition of the Packers. We think it'll be very popular, and just really thankful of President Kunkel's support of that. And I think it will be a really popular destination in Green Bay. You know, just again, I want to welcome and thank you all for coming out. This is our second time. As Wayne mentioned, as an athletic director, I served as an athletic director for over 16 years. And really, you know, whether you agree that athletics or sports are important, you can't deny the fact that they do have a big impact in society. And I think it's really great that two institutions, the Packers and a Division III institution, have come together to really study, you know, what's the proper role of athletics. And, you know, having been on a campus for 16 years, I know that, you know, those are legitimate issues. And sometimes there's too much emphasis put on athletics. On the other side, sometimes academics look at it and don't really understand the true benefits that you do gain from athletic participation. So I think having a good discussion of all the different issues involved and surrounding athletics is really healthy, and we're great to be able to do it here in Green Bay and to partner with St. Norbert College. Enjoy your couple days here, and really look forward to seeing you and getting to know a number of you over the next couple days. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Mark. And, you know, folks, just to come off the script a little bit as an aside, Mark Murphy, we all talk about this, certainly in entertainment and in sports, you know, you don't want to be the guy following the guy. Mark Murphy followed the guy who was at the top of the structure of the Packers, whom you'll hear from tomorrow. Bob Harlan did a tremendous job as president and CEO of the Green Bay Packers, unprecedented. He brought the Packers out of the wilderness of 25 years of matriculating through the desert of mediocrity in the National Football League, made the right moves, brought the Packers back to prominence with the hiring of Ron Wolf and Mike Holmgren, the trade acquisition of Brett Favre, and then, of course, the free agent acquisition of Reggie White and the revival of Titletown. That's not an easy act to follow. Mark Murphy picked up that little gauntlet, so to speak, when Bob Harlan retired, and the transition has been seamless. The Packers have moved into an entire new age, and it has been tremendous. It takes a man not just of administrative skills, but of great personal integrity as well, and great personality. I do want to say one thing about Mark that maybe a lot of you don't realize. He just got back from a tour that was started actually by Bob. The Packers do, and Bud, you'll recall this in baseball, they used to do these barnstorming tours. Remember in the winter, in February, you go out in the dead of the winter before training camp, before spring training, and you'd tour your state. Was it the Cardinals would go around Missouri, and everybody would do it in Major League Baseball. This is years ago. The Packers do that today. They have a tour that hits 5 different towns across the state, and they help raise money. You know, they began this under Bob a number of years ago, and Mark picked it up. Except that Mark took it to another level. You see, you don't need an announcer to go along on that tour. Normally, well, those tours, the announcer goes along and he introduces everybody, does a little Q&A with the crowd of the whole bit. Mark does the whole thing. The other night in my hometown, Grafton, Wisconsin, I was there to kind of warm up the crowd a little bit. The Packers, led by Mark, got off the bus. He jumped up onto the podium, started the program, finished the program, did the whole thing. You know, if this CEO thing doesn't work out, Mark, and you really want to make some money, you know, you've got a future in our business. It is tremendous. It was really a great show to watch. But at any rate, the transition has been seamless to a new era for the Packers. I am really thrilled. I'm a Major League Baseball fan. Those of you who heard my talk last night know that, you know, there are a couple of passions in my life, you know, but baseball is one of them. Obviously, I work in football. My career gravitated toward football, especially football on the radio. But my passion as a fan is baseball. And, You know, I'm going to come off the script here and say to you, and this is my opinion only, I honestly believe the most effective, the best commissioner of my lifetime, the most effective commissioner, any sport in my lifetime, has been the man who you will hear from in a few moments here today. I mean that sincerely. I have said that many times behind his back. I've said it many times on the air, and I'm pleased to say it again here today. We are so honored to have with us at our conference Bud Selig, the 9th Commissioner of Baseball. Selig joined Major League Baseball in 1970. He rescued baseball. He gave Milwaukee baseball back again. He brought the one-year-old Seattle Pilots baseball team out of bankruptcy, brought them to Milwaukee, announced that the team would become the Milwaukee Brewers, and that brought big league baseball back to Milwaukee. A great baseball town in the 50s, a town that saw its team, the Braves, play the Yankees in back-to-back World Series and beat them in that first World Series meeting. I believe it was 1957. And then in 58, they played again. Great World Series, tremendous attendance in Milwaukee at Old County Stadium. Milwaukee was cast as a great baseball town. But the Braves left in the mid-60s for Atlanta. Milwaukee was without Major League Baseball. It became the personal crusade of Bud Selig to bring baseball, Major League Baseball, back to Wisconsin after the Braves left. He became the central figure in Major League Baseball's organizational structure, was elected unanimously to be commissioner in July of 1988. I'll bet there were hundreds of people following baseball at that time, hundreds of people in baseball who said, well, this will be just kind of a transitionary little thing here. We'll just get one of our own. Bud will take care of this thing, and a little bit he'll do the Brewers, and you know, he'll run baseball for a little bit, just to transition us to the next great commissioner. 1988, well, here we still are. You're still transitioning, Commissioner, my goodness. And what a tremendous transition it has been. He's been one of the most significant people in the history of American sports, has led the way toward the implementation of many of baseball's structural changes, including the wild card playoff format, interleague play, which none of us purists thought would work. How could you do that? Adding teams to the playoffs, wild card teams, are you kidding me? How would that work out? Realignment, restoration of the rule book. Hey, how about enforcing the strike zone? What do you mean? Are you crazy? All of these things. You know, I'll tell you something. The wild card in the playoffs, the greatest reality show on TV is not Dancing with the Stars. It's not Survival. The greatest reality TV show is the Major League Baseball playoffs in October. And I mean that sincerely. That's unscripted, believe me. If they could script it, it wouldn't go the way it's gone the last few years. I guarantee you that. It's been tremendous. It is great theater. It's great entertainment. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't have wild card teams, if we didn't have weeks of playoffs following a long regular season. Under Bud's guidance, Major League Baseball has created Major League Baseball Advanced Media. Now, my kids turned me on to this because obviously I barely know my way around a computer, although I do everything off a laptop now, and when it breaks down, I am just lost. But there is no league in sports today. Everybody's looking up at baseball in terms of all of these advanced media technologies. You know, it's amazing today, and I know that you could do this in football and basketball as well, but baseball led the way with satellite coverage, satellite radio, internet coverage of its games, live coverage. Today, I listen to and watch more games of my beloved baseball team today here in Milwaukee area and Green Bay than I did when I lived back east. It's amazing what they've done. They've led the way not just on the field, not just in terms of the postseason, but in advanced media as well. I'll tell you something. You know, I could go on and on about this, but what Bud Selig has done for those of us who know and follow and love Major League Baseball, I will say this, you know, everyone thinks the greatest commissioner was Kennesaw Mountain Landis. I maintain the greatest commissioner is here with us today in the history of Major League Baseball. Please welcome Commissioner Bud Selig, Major League Baseball.
Thank you very much, Wayne, and pleasure to be here today. You know, when I think about this and sports and society in America, what it means. I've made some notes before I'm going to let you ask all the questions that you want. It's really my favorite part of my job. I've now done this, I've been in this sport almost 50 years now. There are some days lately, frankly, where it seems like 500 years, but that's a whole other story. But it's remarkable. And Mark said something which is interesting. There are times in life where one can make the case that, you know, sports are overdone, but when you see, and I'm going to try to articulate for you just to see what I've seen from my perspective, how much it means to people and how we have to do it not only the right way, but always with integrity, because the sport means so much to so many people in a myriad of ways. And so you understand the confluence of sport and society. And baseball, through its long history, has really been one of the common threads of that. I've been lucky the last 20 years in leading this sport and being in it for almost 30 years before that. There are special moments. One thing you learn right from the start, baseball links generations. It links generations in the most remarkable way. Last year during the World Series, I couldn't help, there was a very special moment in the incredibly spectacular sixth game of the World Series when David Freese hit a game-winning home run as a leadoff hitter. I believe it was the 12th inning. In the broadcast booth, Joe Buck said, as the ball went out, all he said is, "And we'll see you tomorrow night." Just as his father, Jack, the famous Jack Buck, who was truly one of the great announcers in sports, both baseball and football, had done for Kirby Puckett's game-winning home run in the World Series of 1991. Exactly the same. And when I listened to it that night late afterwards, came back to the hotel and watched it, I got chills because it brought back, it was just exactly as Jack had done. I believe right from the beginning I understood, but my friend Bart Giamatti, who was a commissioner of baseball, tragically only for about 6 months, former president of Yale, president of the National League, and one of the most remarkable human beings I've known, used to write about baseball, loved it, treasured it. He was a wonderful writer, and he wrote something that I'd like to read to you because it symbolizes for me exactly what you're talking about and what we're talking about. He wrote, "It breaks your heart. It is designed to break your heart. The game begins in the spring when everything else begins again, and it blossoms in the summer, filling the afternoons and evenings. And then as soon as the chill rains comes, it stops and leaves you to face the fall alone. You count on it. You rely on it to buffer the passage of time, to keep the memory of sunshine and high skies alive. And then just when the days are all twilight, when you need it the most, it stops." Well, that resonated really deeply with me. When I read his words, I think about the unique power of baseball, the grip it has on the people who love it, how the game helps its fan mark the passage of time. It's an honor to lead the game that people care about. Think about this. Just think about the history. I'm a history buff, young man who wanted to be a history professor and chose a different path in life, but I am a great student of history in every way. The clubs hear me talk about the retrospective history at every major league meeting. When I was 12 years old, let's talk about integration. Jackie Robinson made his major league debut, broke the sports color bar. April 15, 1947, he played first base in Ebbets Field, and he gave, in my opinion, our game its proudest and most powerful moment. No one transformed our sport more significantly than Jackie Robinson, but I must say to you, it was when you think back, baseball. Here's Branch Rickey, general manager and president of the Dodgers. signs him in 1945, goes and plays in Montreal in 46, and then comes to the big leagues. How remarkable was that? I regard, you'll hear me say this today often, baseball is a social institution. Baseball is a social institution with enormous social responsibilities. So here is Branch Rickey bringing Jackie Robinson to the big leagues. 4 years before Harry Truman desegregated the United States Army, 8 years before the Brown versus Board education, which is a critical court decision, and 18 years before the Civil Rights Movement. And so when people say that Jackie Robinson was one of the most important people in the 20th century in this country, that is absolutely accurate and absolutely correct. And so my favorite player when I was a young kid, was Joe Dimaggio, son of an Italian fisherman who immigrated to San Francisco. Many people love Joe Dimaggio because his story was their story. We often hear about the greatest generation, true as can be. Ted Williams served in the Navy in World War II, flew combat missions in the Korean War. It took 5.5 years, off an unbelievable career. Happy to do it. Turned out he was a great pilot. But you begin to understand, and this is what you try to explain to players. We are a social institution. We do have responsibilities. And for the most part, our people have lived those responsibilities. And I'll say this very candidly here today. When we have something like the steroid problem that we had years ago, in the context of our being a social institution, we did what we were supposed to do. We took care of it. We now have the toughest testing program in American sports. And frankly, we've really, according to our trainers and team doctors, solve the problem as much as you can ever solve it, because as Mark will tell you, and we know in all sports, it's an ongoing problem. And there are always going to be people trying to come up with things. But we believe we're ahead of it. That is what you're supposed to do in sports. I have a letter on the wall in my office, which some of you have seen here. It's a letter 5 weeks after Pearl Harbor. Franklin Delano Roosevelt sent a letter, what's known as the Green Light Letter, to Commissioner Landis, encouraging baseball to continue. I honestly feel, FDR wrote, it'd be best for the country to keep baseball going. People ought to have a chance for recreation, for taking their minds off to work even more than ever before. I remember agonizing after 9/11. It happened on a Tuesday. We were supposed to have a major league meeting in Milwaukee that day about when should we come back, talk to the White House, talk to the president, talk to everybody. We finally came back the following Monday, and I was nervous, sensitive. Did we do the right thing? So I got home early that night, went upstairs at that time and turned on the television. I was going to go and watch a whole bunch of games on my satellite. And at 7 o'clock from St. Louis, Missouri, Jack Buck, the famed Jack Buck, read a poem that he wrote himself. And it's in the middle of it, he said, "Should we be here tonight?" And the crowd roared. And you could see tears streaming down Jack Buck's face. And I don't mind telling, I'm not ashamed to tell you, I sat in my little office and cried, because I knew we had made the right decision. All the other games are that. I called Jack Buck the next morning, and I said, I called Joe. I didn't have Jack's number. I called Joe, and Joe said, "Oh, my dad will call you right away." He did about 8 seconds later. And I said, "I don't know how to thank you, Jack. You know, you and I have been friends a long time. I can't tell you how much it meant to me." And we told the story as I'm telling you. He said, "Would you like my poem?" I wrote it out myself. I said, "Would I ever?" And I do have it today, a very proud and only copy, because he wrote it out himself. And I thanked him over and over again. But it again taught you the very valuable lesson of how much baseball and sports, in all fairness, mean to people and how it can be used in this wonderfully constructive way. And so, during the '01 World Series, I've been to a lot of World Series now, the emotion at Yankee Stadium when they were playing the Arizona Diamondbacks, the president was there for Game 3. It was emotion like I have never seen before. It was like a city undergoing a catharsis. I don't know how else to describe it. And the emotion was just unbelievable. The Yankees helped by winning those 3 games with home runs in the 9th and 10th inning, but it was an experience that you never forgot. And I couldn't help but think then, as I do now, how much baseball in its own little way, and I want to emphasize that, could play a role in healing what had been an absolutely heinous crime. And so the trail of Jackie, Joe, Ted Williams, many others, they all transcended baseball in a meaningful way that spoke to the American experience. So I'm teaching a couple of college classes, and a student asked me the other day, what was my favorite baseball memory? I said, I have so many. Proud of the role I played in bringing baseball back, a lot of things, but I want to tell you a little story. My friend Henry Aaron was in town the other day for a commencement speech, and we talked about it, as he and I often do. On September 23rd, I was out of college, out of the service, and my father had implored me to take an accounting course. I don't want to offend anybody here today, Mr. Baniel, you in particular, but I hate accounting. I don't believe in accounting rules. It bored me today. It bored me then. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I had never skipped a class. My mother was a teacher, and that was a different generation. But I'm driving down the freeway, and the Milwaukee Braves are going to play the St. Louis Cardinals that night. And if the Braves win, they're going to win the pennant. Wow. So, having no trepidation about skipping my accounting class, I turned off, went to the park miles away, walked to the ticket window. They had a couple of obstructed view seats left. I bought one, and it was obstructed right behind a pillar. But I watched the Braves and the Cardinals. And in the 11th inning, Braves actually had the bases loaded in the 9th inning, and Frank Torrey, who I kid to this day, hit into a double play. I could have choked him right on the spot. In the 11th inning, Hank Aaron hit a home run off of Billy Muffet to win the pennant. And I'm a 23-year-old kid sitting in the upper deck, cried. But the most amazing thing, and now I have the papers, and the next day, here is this black man being carried off the field in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And juxtaposed with a picture right here is Governor Orville Faubus spraying blacks trying to go to high school in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I remember looking at that paper, just a kid, saying, wow. And so, fortunately, I've told the story before, and people have now sent me. I have a beautiful plaque with both pictures there. And actually, Henry came to our house to see it. So if you ever wonder what kind of great role sports can play, all sport, in society, that was, you just couldn't replicate that. And so, as I grew up and tried to get a team, Milwaukee was heartbroken, Wisconsin was heartbroken. Terrible story. And towards the end of the final season in 1965, I was sitting in the stands, the last game the Milwaukee Braves ever played. Eddie Matthews, Hank Aaron group. Sandy Koufax pitched for the Dodgers. That day, a lady in a wheelchair approached me. Now, I'm just 29, 30 years old, and she said to me, "Are you Bud Selig?" And a partner of mine, Ed Fitzgerald, said, "Uh-oh, what happened now?" And I said, "Nothing I'm aware of." And she said to me, she had tears streaming down her face. She grabbed my arm and said, "Don't you fail." I never forget this story. Do you know how important baseball is to people like me? You're all we got. And she was, at that time, tears streaming down her face. Don't let us down. So, in a long career like mine, you begin to understand. You see things that you don't like. After all, I said to you before, Bart Giamatti was right. Baseball is a metaphor for life. So is football. You have your ups, you have your downs. You have things that happen that you wish didn't happen. You talk to players and you talk to people all over about the things they should do and should not do. But we are a metaphor for life. And that's what makes it so great. And you know, there are a lot of things that happen. Baseball has changed, has evolved like everything else in life. We had a period in our history in the 70s and 80s into the early 90s where we didn't change. Society was changing. After all, we reflect society. We can't, we're not some isolated entity, and neither is football, that just sits out there. And so we had become, I think, stodgy. And so change, which is very difficult because baseball is a social institution, so is football. And whenever you change something, there are a lot of people who say you never did it that way and it can't happen and so on and so forth. But you do change. And so today, we've set attendance records in the last 5 years. We had, last weekend was the biggest pre-Memorial Day weekend in baseball attendance in history. And we're right now going towards a number that will be stunning, and I'm proud of that because I think it reflects all the changes and all the things that we've done. But you have to always remember, and what makes a job like mine difficult, I'm sure Roger Goodell or David Stern and Gary Bettman would agree with this statement, you're always on guard, because what it really is our job, to always protect the integrity of our sport. That's really what this is all about. And so we have, but we have to continue to do it. There are people who will question decisions. But without integrity, you don't have a sport. If people going to Miller Park or Lambeau Field have a scintilla of doubt that there's something about the game that, well, maybe somebody, you have no sport left. So if we appear to be overzealous sometimes, or what's perceived as overzealous, it's only because protecting our integrity is just crucial. And so I guess of all the things that my long career, I'm really proudest that our game, and certainly football has too, has embraced its stature as a social institution with important responsibilities. Think about Roberto Clemente, the great Clemente. Got on a plane, never should have gotten on that plane, to go help earthquake victims in Nicaragua, and died. We now have an award every year called the Roberto Clemente Award. Vera Clemente comes up with the kids, and we have, each team has one player. And if you were to read the things they do in their communities, it's just marvelous. You'll always read and hear about maybe somebody who doesn't act well. But quietly, most of our athletes, most of football's athletes, do so much good, and that's what we're supposed to do. We've been very active in other things. I guess one thing I'm proudest of, we funded an organization called Stand Up to Cancer 4 years ago. It's grown. It was 7 people in Hollywood, all of whom who had had breast cancer. And they came to us first, and it's been the most amazing experience. And to think of all the good they've done, it's a privilege. So Jackie Robinson said, "A life is not important except its impact on other lives." Jackie Robinson was right. And that's why I feel privileged to be the commissioner of a sport that understands that. I could go on for a long time, but I do like, those of you who know me well, I like question and answer. And it actually was in Milwaukee about 5 years ago. A woman raised her hand and then put her hand down. I said, "What's the matter, ma'am?" And she said, "Oh, no, this is not a nice question." And I said, "Well, let me tell you something. When I took over many, many years ago, I thought I was a nice young man, very sensitive with feelings. I don't have any feelings left. You can't hurt my feelings." So anyway, I encourage you to be as candid as you'd like and ask me anything that you would like to ask.